Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm taking a look at the new 12th Doctor sort of mini-series that they've randomly sort of started doing, which I just picked up today of this recording, and I didn't expect to be picking this up. I didn't have it on subscription at like my local comic book shop, so it's a pleasant surprise. It's a 12th Doctor story called Ghost Stories, or at least this first part is, or maybe the whole series is, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's kind of odd because, yeah, they've got the Doctor Who logo here, and then, yeah, the BBC 12th Doctor Ghost Stories, all sort of in the centre bit of the comic cover, which I'm not complaining about. I like that there, but it's usually at the sides, and that's usually at the sides, and then they usually have a picture of the Doctor at hand, i.e. the 12th Doctor. You know, they usually have a photo still of the actual actor, but here they just have a picture or an image slash drawing of the ghost, which looks epic. Actually, I really like this cover, which is weird because I'm not the biggest fan of the character of the ghost, really. I liked him. I thought he was decent for the parts that he was in. I just feel like he wasn't as fleshed out as he could have been, and, you know, basically as a superhero purely, I think he was very one-dimensional and just paper thin, really. Then there's all these shards of glass and that with people, or the images. Then you've got the TARDIS barcode even, sorry, with 01, so it's issue 1, Titan Comics and whatnot. Then you've got a on the first page you've got the the Titan Comics website, Twitter, Facebook. Then you've got a bio on the Doctor, Grant and Lucy, and that which I read, and does give you, yeah, just a quick update of these characters, and then previously what happened, which basically goes over the return of Dr. Mysterio, and that. Then you've got, you know, panels with sort of news people, and then more panels and stuff. You've got the TARDIS there materialising, and then it materialises there. You've got the one character that I don't particularly like, at least the way she's been drawn, is Lucy. She just doesn't look like her, really, personally. I mean, I think the guy who played Grant is represented really well here. Like, the way he's drawn looks really good, you know, and looks like him from different angles and whatnot. I do like the inclusion of the sort of panel of the TARDIS where you put your sort of hand in there and it's sort of this memory thing and it can trace back through your timeline, and that. I really adore that piece of technology that's in the newest TARDIS interior, but I don't feel like it gets used enough in the series, and so I like the inclusion of it being used here in a comic book. And then, yeah, this panel's nice, isn't it? Panel, you know, of the new TARDIS interior. And then, sort of quickly going from sort of New York and happy-go-lucky, it turns to this sort of almost Last of Us post-apocalyptic wasteland and that. And I think the Doctor, primarily in this issue, takes a back seat, and I can kind of see why the Ghost is primarily on the front cover. And then you've got this guy called The Smoke, and you've got epic battle scenes and whatnot, you know, here, epic battle scenes and whatnot, and you've got the end bit, but on the back you've got out from this month from Titan, you know, the Titan Comics you can get, the story credits. So the Ghost Part 1, the writer, George Mann, who, fun fact, is the same writer who wrote some of the really early sort of I think 9th Doctor stuff that we got in Titan Comics, with the sort of first five part sort of series. And also, fun fact, I definitely know this for sure, he wrote the War Doctor box set. No, he wrote the War Doctor book, Engines of War, which I absolutely adore. And if I was ever to meet George Mann, I would love for him to sign that book because I absolutely adore it. And that the artist, the colorist, and the letterist, and variant covers you can get for this issue. Torchwood Volume 1 thing, the next issue, something about digital stuff, more advertisements and whatnot. You know, I think the best way of describing this issue is Doctor Who meets, you know, Superman. You know, it's essentially Superman. I think that was the problem with Doctor Mysterio in a nutshell. It felt too much like Doctor Who meets Superman, but then never really doing much with the Superman storyline. You know, so it just felt like 50-50. It felt 50% Doctor Who, 50%, you know, like a Superman story. But here, this is fully fledged, you know, just Superman story. You know, you've got, as I say, like, fight scenes with this guy and Grant, you know. But the thing that I am a bit worried about later down the line is that the Doctor will take a back seat, you know, and not in a good way. And that they'll just focus too much on Grant, you know. But there is this already sort of overall story arc type thing that seems to be apparent, which is that the crystal that like Grant absorbed / ate as a child, the Doctor wants to find the other 4 or other 3 or 4 that are out there, and therefore needs Grant to help him find them. And I think that's a pretty ingenious way of tying the two of them together, you know, making them need one another in the context of this story, you know, because it's like there's been 8 years between Doctor Mysterio and the events of this, and so, you know, even Lucy says, you know, surely you're not here just for a social visit, there must be a reason for you being here. And that's the reason, which I can totally buy. I think it's a decent enough reason, and I think it's actually a reason that makes sense from the Doctor's perspective, and I think's, you know, not just a ham-fisted, sort of crowbarred in, random, you know, reason for the Doctor to want to see Grant. It sounds like something from the context of the character of the Doctor. You know, it sounds like something he would want to do, you know, he wants to wrap up something from the past, and even says here, but the Doctor is terrible for picking at loose ends, you know. There is something that, you know, well, it's not a plot hole, so to speak, in The Return of Doctor Mysterio, but it's something that is an element of that story that could be picked up on, and that in terms of the Doctor's character, and it has been with this story. And so if you've really enjoyed The Return of Doctor Mysterio and Grant and Lucy and you know, the Ghost, I think this is a must-have for you. If you're not a big fan of Doctor Mysterio, this might be one to pass up and pass on, but I really enjoyed reading it, and I can't wait for the next issue. So thanks for watching, comment, rate, and subscribe.